Today, I want to take you on a journey through the rise, fall, and resurgence of one of the most unique and innovative rock bands of the 20th century, Electric Light Orchestra, better known as ELO. From their orchestral rock beginnings to their domination of the charts and ultimately their near disappearance before a surprising comeback, ELO's story is a fascinating one. ELO was formed in 1970 in Birmingham, England, by three musicians, Jeff Lynne, Roy Wood, and Bev Bevan. Their vision was ambitious, combining rock and roll with classical orchestration, creating a new sound that merged electric guitars with violins, cellos, and synthesizers. Roy Wood, who was the former frontman of The Move, was the primary force behind this idea, but after their first album, The Electric Light Orchestra in 1971, he left the group, leaving Jeff Lynne to take full creative control. Wood left the band to form Wizard. He cited problems with their manager, Don Arden, who Wood felt failed in his role, and an unsatisfactory tour of Italy. And with Lynne at the helm, ELO would soon take flight. Through the 1970s and early 1980s, ELO became a global sensation. They crafted a signature sound that was both symphonic and futuristic, with elaborate string arrangements, catchy melodies, and intricate production. The band released their second album, ELO 2, in early 1973, which produced their second UK Top 10 and their first US chart single, an elaborate version of the Chuck Berry classic Roll Over Beethoven, which also incorporated the first two or three lines from the first movement of Beethoven's own Fifth Symphony. Also made their first appearance on American Bandstand. During the recording of the third album, Gibson was let go after a dispute over money, Meek Kaminsky joined as violinist, and Walker left since touring was keeping him away from his family too much. The resulting album, On the Third Day, was released in late 1973, with the American version featuring the popular single Showdown. Their big breakthrough came with El Dorado in 1974, the first album to feature a full orchestra. The first single off the album, Can't Get It Out of My Head, became their first US Top 10 hit, and El Dorado, a symphony, became ELO's first gold album. Following the release of El Dorado, Kelly Grocott was recruited as bassist, and in early 1975, Melvin Gale replaced Edwards on cello. ELO had become successful in the US at this point, and the group was a star attraction on the stadium and arena circuit and appeared on the Midnight Special more than any other band in that show's history, with 4 appearances in 1973, 1975, 1976, and 1977. But it was the 1975 album Face the Music that truly put them on the map, with hits like Evil Woman and Strange Magic. The opening instrumental, Fire on High, with its mix of strings and acoustic guitars, saw heavy exposure as the theme music for the American television program CBS Sports Spectacular in the mid-1970s. From there, the band soared higher and higher, reaching their peak with a New World record in 1976 and Out of the Blue in 1977. A New World record contained the hit singles Livin' Thing, Telephone Line, Rockaria, and Do Ya, the last a re-recording of The Move's final single. Out of the Blue featured the singles Turn to Stone, Sweet Talkin' Woman, Mr. Blue Sky, and Wild West Hero, each becoming a hit in the United Kingdom. They became known for their larger-than-life live shows, incorporating laser light displays, orchestras, and futuristic stage designs. Their 1978 Out of the Blue tour featured a giant spaceship as their stage setup, an image that became synonymous with the band's futuristic sound. In the late 70s and early 80s, ELO was one of the biggest bands in the world. They dominated the charts and sold over 50 million records worldwide. In 1979, the multi-platinum album Discovery was released, reaching number 1 on the UK albums chart. Although the biggest hit on the album and ELO's biggest hit overall was the rock song Don't Bring Me Down, the album was noted for its heavy disco influence. Discovery also produced the hits Shine a Little Love, Last Train to London, Confusion, and The Diary of Horace Wimp. In 1980, Lynn was asked to write for the soundtrack of the musical film Xanadu and provided half of the songs, with the other half written by John Farrar and performed by the film star Olivia Newton-John. The album spawned hit singles from both Newton-John, Magic, a #1 single in the United States, one hit in the United States, and Suddenly with Cliff Richard, and ELO, I'm Alive Fight, which went gold all over the world, and Don't Walk Away. The title track, performed by both Newton-John and ELO, is ELO's only song to top the UK singles chart. More than a quarter of a century later, Xanadu, a Broadway musical based on the film, opened on July 10th, 2007 at the Helen Hayes Theatre to uniformly good reviews. In 1981, ELO's sound changed again with the science fiction concept album Time, a throwback to earlier, more progressive rock albums like El Dorado. Singles from the album included Hold On Tight, Twilight, The Way Life's Meant to Be, Here Is the News, and Ticket to the Moon. However, the release of the single for Rain Is Falling in 1982 was the band's first single in the US to fail to reach the Billboard Hot 100 since 1975, and the release of The Way Life's Meant to Be similarly was their first single in the UK to fail to chart since 1976. Jeff Lynne wanted to follow Time with a double album, but CBS blocked his plan on the grounds that a double vinyl album would be too expensive and not sell as well as a single record, so as a result, the new album was edited down to a single disc and released as Secret Messages in 1983. Many of the outtakes were later released on Afterglow or as B-sides of singles. While Secret Messages debuted at number 4 in the United Kingdom, it subsequently performed poorly in the charts, with a lack of hit singles, though Rock and Roll is King was a sizable hit in UK, the US, and Australia, and a lukewarm media response. Tensions within the band grew, and by 1986, Jeff Lynne decided to call it quits. The final album of their original run, Balance of Power in 1986, failed to make a major impact, and the band officially disbanded. Jeff Lynne moved on to become one of the most sought-after producers in rock history, working with legends like George Harrison, Tom Petty, and even the Beatles on their new tracks in the 1990s. Meanwhile, drummer Bev Bevan attempted to keep the band alive with a spin-off called ELO Part 2, but it never truly captured the magic of the original. Here is some interesting trivia about the band. Mr. Blue Sky is often referred to as the happiest song ever written, and has been used in countless movies, commercials, and even as a wake-up song for astronauts. The band's futuristic logo, which resembles a jukebox spaceship, was inspired by the Wurlitzer jukebox design. For nearly 2 decades, it seemed like ELO was just a fond memory, but in the early 2000s, Jeff Lynne decided to revive the project. He released Zoom in 2001 under the ELO name, but it received little attention. However, things changed in 2014 when Lynne performed as Jeff Lynne's ELO at the BBC's Hyde Park Festival. The response was overwhelming. Fans, old and new, were eager for more. This led to the release of Alone in the Universe in 2015 and a massive world tour that proved still had a place in the modern music scene. In 2017, Jeff Lynne's ELO was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a long overdue honor for a band that helped shape the sound of classic rock. In 2019, they released From Out of Nowhere, showing that even after 50 years, Lynne's vision was still going strong. This is what the members of the band are up to these days. Jeff Lynne announced the Over and Out Tour, a final tour of North America that would span from August to October 2024. Bev Bevan, the original drummer, retired from music but occasionally appears for special events. Richard Tandy, the band's longtime keyboardist, died in 2024 at the age of 76. Roy Wood, ELO's co founder, has had a successful solo career but has never reunited with Lynn. So, what happened to the Electric Light Orchestra? They went from being one of the biggest bands in the world to nearly vanishing, only to return decades later and reclaim their place in rock history. Their music continues to inspire new generations, proving that a truly great song never fades away. Whether it's the uplifting energy of Mr. Blue Sky or the anthemic power of Don't Bring Me Down, ELO's legacy lives on. And as long as Jeff Lynne keeps the music alive, the Electric Light Orchestra will always be shining.